About 10 more seconds. Ura, can I pass it over to you?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the World's Futures Day, Young Voices 2025. This session is brought to you by Teach the Future, a global nonprofit dedicated to embedding futures literacy in education worldwide. World's Futures Day is a partnership with the Millennium Project. Right now, we are all part of a 24-hour global conversation about our futures, creating a space where all generations, especially young voices, can share their visions, concerns, and action driven projects towards a better tomorrow. This will be streamed on YouTube, so let's make this conversation count. Share your thoughts and join the global discussion using hashtag World's Futures Day Young Voices. Facilitators, take it away.
Thank you for that wonderful welcome. My name is April Mickley. I am with Future Problem Solving. I'm the executive director, and one of the best perks of my job is working with amazing young leaders. With us today, we have several youth who will be sharing their experiences on our topic. Our topic of focus is bridging the digital gap, empowering future minds. Our various speakers will address different topics within this overarching subtopic, and we will have some interactive questions that we will be posing to the group. We will be using the platform Mentimeter. Once we get to our first question, we will be sharing the access to Menti. If you have another device to use for Menti, that is certainly most convenient but not required. And having that ready would be great. The first topic of discussion will be hosted by Trevor, and then we will move into a topic by Ayush and followed by Joel. Unfortunately, Jose is a very busy young leader and was unable to join the session with us today, but we do appreciate his support and interest. So Trevor, why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself, and then we'll have Ayush and Joel introduce themselves.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me, both World Futures Day and April. My name is Trevor. I'm from Connecticut. I'm a senior in high school, and I'm also a part of the Future Problem Solving program. I've competed since elementary school, and I also have the distinct honor of being one of the research directors for the student advisory group. And yeah, excited to be here.
Thank you, Trevor. We're excited to have you with us.
My name is Ayush Sankaran. I'm a ninth grader in Mumbai, India, and I love advocating for bridging the digital divide as I think it is important for all children, irrespective of the socioeconomic status, to have equal rights based on tech education.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Joel Cisneros Quesada, and I'm happy to be here and explaining some topics that I consider is important to take many importances. So let's go with the panels with all of those.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to everyone for being with us. The first topic we are going to discuss will be led by Trevor. And this topic is all about digital transformation strategies. And as Trevor mentioned, he is a student in our program, Future Problem Solving, and brings forth a lot of knowledge, not only in futuristic topics that we are discussing here today on World Futures Day, but also the problem solving process that he has learned through us. Trevor, thank you. Before we get started, could you please define in your own words what digital transformation strategies are?
Absolutely. So digital transformation strategies are really strategies that are used in order to implement digital technologies into traditionally physical aspects of life.
All right, thank you. So our first Menti poll is up. You'll see here at the top some instructions, join at menti.com, and there is a code there for you to type in. So I will let everyone just take a minute to access our interactive response so we can hear from our audience. And then once you are logged in, we would like you to select which option best matches how much of an impact digital transformation has had on your life. Up until this point, has it had a huge impact, a noticeable impact, minimal impact, or no impact? So while you're taking a minute to get logged on to Menti, please go ahead and respond to that initial question. And I do encourage our panel to join in as well.
Vijf, één, vier, zes.
Mark, did you have a question? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Okay, we'll give everyone about one more minute. I know this is our first question and we might be needing a few minutes to log on, but to manage our time and all of the content, we will want to go ahead and move forward here in just a minute. While you're working on answering this, Trevor, would you go ahead and share what your experience has been with digital transformation?
Sure. So much of my experience has been getting to see kind of the transitions between physical and digital spaces in many aspects of my own life. I've competed in future problem solving since elementary school, which we've mentioned before, and it's a program where we're given a potential future scene with regard to a certain futuristic topic. In the past, there's been ones like antibiotic resistance, agricultural industry, and de-extinction. And then we have to identify challenges, brainstorm solutions, and utilize the six-step problem-solving process in the format of a competition booklet. In elementary school, when I first started, I learned to write those booklets physically, handwritten, and turn them in. But once COVID hit, out of necessity, FPS Online was created, and I've been digitally writing my booklets ever since on my computer. And the same can be said for many things. I feel that the pandemic served as sort of a catalyst for so many digital transformations, since at that time, doing things digitally was often the only option that we had for those with the ability to do so. And these changes often remained in the years since. Things like the utilization of Zoom for club meetings has continued to happen when not everyone can make it to the meeting in person. My grade was actually the first in our school to take the SAT digitally, and we will be in the first wave of digital AP exams from the College Board this May. So I've had much experience in both physical spaces as well as spaces that have since been digitally transformed.
Thank you for that insight, Trevor, and for connecting that to a major global issue when COVID happened. So I appreciate that segue. The next question, what beneficial impact has digital transformation had on you and in your local community?
So there are many clear benefits of digital transformation, primarily the ease of use. My first time at the FPS International Conference was before the transition to FPS Online, and I vividly remember sitting in a lecture hall with a fold-up desk and having to juggle many individual pages of my booklet and the future scene. But now that the transformation has occurred, the entire booklet resides in my computer, and switching between pages is as simple as clicking a button, which makes writing the booklet and getting my ideas down much easier. And things as simple as typing essays as opposed to writing them by hand has also proven beneficial. We used to write essays by hand and would have to make multiple drafts and then piece them together into a final one. However, now by writing essays out in a Google Doc or a Word document, we're able to make direct edits to our first draft, which makes every essay one living document that we're able to manipulate in order to make whatever edits or corrections that we need.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm smiling, Trevor, as I'm sitting here with my laptop open, sharing my screen for our audience. My iPad's open with all of our notes for this presentation, and my handheld cellular device is open to the Menti so I can watch the responses coming in. Things that may have seemed very sort of intimidating a few years ago are now just second nature. So thank you for sharing your own experience. Do you see any drawbacks to digital transformation?
So technology can be our greatest asset, but it can also be our greatest crutch because digital spaces are often prone to glitches, network connectivity, power problems, and loading issues. And these are things that can completely derail any tasks that occurs within a digitally transformed space. Digital assessments are reliant on the assumption that your computer will remain connected to Wi-Fi and it won't run out of battery for the many hours that these assessments take to complete. If either one of these ceases to be true, then the assessment fails to be a true representation of the student. And this is also why many of the things that we'll talk about later on in this discussion, like bridging the digital divide, are so important because these things are essential to ensuring a fair representation of a student in any space that has undergone a digital transformation.
Thank you for bringing those to light. Well, I'd love to hear what our audience has to say about the various impacts of digital transformation. So a very quick poll here. Does our audience feel that digital transformation has more benefits or more drawbacks? You can only select one. So please let us know whether you think there are more benefits or drawbacks. And while the group is working on those responses, Trevor, would you just let us know, what do you think are some of the most effective strategies for digital transformation?
In terms of strategies, I feel like there are two that come to mind which have proven very effective in my own experience. And number one is gradual implementation. As I said before, my grade was the first in our school to take the SATs digitally. However, the year before that, students from the grade ahead of us were selected to take digital practice SATs in our school library. And while these didn't count for anything, they were essential in gathering information on the digital tests, getting to see what worked, where issues arose, and what could be done in order to prevent those issues from occurring in the future. And the success of those test runs is what then enabled College Board to provide our grade and all subsequent grades with the SAT in a digital format that was successful. Every year in future problem solving, we have two practice booklets in the fall that occur before the ones that officially count towards competition in the spring. And when FPS switched to digital booklets, we were able to use these practice booklets as sort of test runs for the online space, getting to see how it all worked and being able to solve problems like how to collaboratively work on an action plan that can only be submitted in one box by a person and how to navigate various sections without losing previous work. And gaining this knowledge to successfully kind of do all this has allowed every FPS team to thrive within the digital space. And then number two would be to keep some traditional options. In elementary school, we didn't learn cursive, we learned how to type. And as a result, I feel much more comfortable using a keyboard for any assessments, assignments, and competitions. However, there of course are many others who feel the exact opposite way, which is why, preserving traditional formats is so important. So many of my teachers will permit students to submit printed or handwritten essays, and FPS still gives students the options to write booklets by hand if that's what works better for them. So I guess overall, ensuring that digital transformations don't become digital barriers is the best strategy to ensure that everyone can continue to thrive in this increasingly digital world.
Thank you, Trevor. Certainly pilots go a long way in helping with transformation, as well as keeping our options open. Mark wrote in the chat that this question would depend on who we're asking, right? If we're asking people in different generations, especially elderly people in countries that have no access, their answer might be vastly different compared to this group who unanimously agreed based on the Menti poll that there were more benefits. So as with every question, there is a deeper dive that is sometimes required and more insight. But thank you so much, Trevor, for sharing your experience. Ayush is now going to help us tackle the next topic, which we will work on. Bridging the digital divide and understanding the barriers. So Trevor certainly segued into that well. Ayush, could you please talk a bit about the digital divide, how it does remain a pressing issue, especially in the artificial intelligence, AI-driven world? And would you just take a minute to share from your perspective, what are the biggest barriers to digital inclusion today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in my opinion, the barriers are multi-layered. Lack of access to hardware, internet connectivity issues, digital literacy gaps, to name a few. Economic factors also play a huge role, but so do systemic changes such as language barriers and outdated educational models. From my experience in working with underserved communities, I have seen how digital inequity impacts students who lack devices or internet access. Initiatives that provide refurbished laptops, offer digital literacy workshops, and integrate AI driven learning tools can make a difference. But we need widespread collaboration between governments, corporates, and grassroots movements to scale these solutions. Additionally, empowering youth through mentorship and hands on learning programs ensures that digital skills are sustained within communities, not just provided as temporary relief.
Thank you so much for that really insightful response that encompasses a broad scope of some of the major issues, barriers that are impacting the digital transformation right now. We do have a question for our audience here. I'm having a barrier to digital things. My slide doesn't want to advance. Hold, please. Here we go. Thank you for your patience. The question we'd like to hear from the group is, what do you think is the biggest barrier to digital inclusion? And we have 5 possible options here. Lack of interest, high cost of devices, digital literacy gap, AI, artificial intelligence bias, or accessibility challenges. Hey, it seems to be that 2 of the barriers have been indicated by our group that have the biggest barrier. As we can see here, the digital literacy gap and accessibility. Ayush, I'm wondering if you could share a bit about your thoughts on how AI could help bridge the digital divide instead of widening it?
Yeah, so this is actually a really good question. One of the features I often use is to use AI translations to explain coding and tech in vernacular languages here in India. AI can enhance accessibility by offering real-time translation, adaptive learning platforms, and also personalized education. And I have seen AI-powered tools transform learning for students who struggle with traditional educational methods, such as AI tutors that provide individualized feedback or voice-based learning for students who lack literacy skills. In my work, integrating AI-driven solutions has helped students from non-English speaking backgrounds gain confidence in tech-related subjects. And additionally, by leveraging AI to create localized content and interactive experiences, we ensure that technology caters to the diverse needs of learners. However, one thing that we need to be cautious about is AI bias, which, as we can see in the poll, because ensuring these solutions are built with inclusivity in mind. So they serve diverse communities rather than reinforce existing disparities because of the AI bias.
Thank you, Ayush, for really providing that insight on the impact of AI and how it might be beneficial to bridge the digital divide. We have another poll for our group with us today. Do you think AI is currently being used effectively to bridge the digital divide? So based on your experience, how do you think AI is solving the problem of needing to bridge the digital divide? So as the results are coming in, Ayush, I want you, if you would please, to share a little bit about your experience in your community where you run an initiative that focuses on digital equity. So in your initiative that you run, could you share an example of an approach that has worked well with engaging underserved communities? And I'll show some
Yeah,
photos of
sure.
your work here.
Yeah. So one effective approach that I have seen work very well is community-driven tech literacy programs, where we not only provide devices but also train local educators to sustain learning efforts. In my experience, repurposing e-waste to provide refurbished laptops and conducting AI and coding workshops, as you can see in the pictures, in collaboration with local schools and NGOs, have helped students access technology they otherwise wouldn't have. So in these pictures, we actually went to a school which was also an NGO, and we actually taught them coding and AI workshops. This one was specifically about AI and machine learning. Uh, so by involving teachers and parents in the process, we ensure that students receive long-term support rather than just a one-time intervention. uh, Additionally, forming local student-led tech hubs within schools and community complexes fosters peer learning as well, enabling youth and young people to take ownership of their digital education and pass on their skills to others. I see building local capacity as a key to making digital inclusion sustainable.
Ayush, thank you so much, not only for sharing your insight, but taking your thoughts and your reactions to what's happening with digital equity and putting your thinking to action and making a difference in your community. That's quite impressive, especially for a student. I believe you said you were in ninth grade. So certainly great things happening from our youth, not only in their thinking, but taking their thoughts into action. So thank you so much for sharing that. As we are talking about the need for the digital divide, oh, I'm sorry, we have a question. I apologize. I'm going to ask the audience, what do you think is the most effective way to bridge the digital divide? Expanding the internet access, providing affordable devices, investing in digital literacy, or AI driven, personalized learning. And as these answers are coming in, Mark had written in the chat, and our group, the panel, had discussed this previously, the importance of bringing the digital divide to both younger and older generations, and the need for these generations to collaborate. Ayush, would you share a bit with us your thoughts on how can intergenerational efforts contribute to digital inclusion and some of the unique strengths that each generation could bring to the table?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the older and the younger generations can actually coexist and collaborate to help solve this issue and bridge the digital divide. Because the older generation brings wisdom and experience and a deep understanding of systemic challenges, while young people and the youth bring tech savviness, innovation, and fresh perspectives. In my initiative, Tech for Equity, we have seen how pairing students with older mentors fosters a two-way exchange. The youth help the seniors become comfortable with digital tools, while seniors provide valuable insights on navigating policy and creating sustainable change. Whether it's co-developing AI tools that are inclusive or ensuring policy making includes diverse perspectives, I feel that bridging the digital divide should be a collaborative effort where each generation complements the other's strengths. Additionally, when youth like us advocate for digital access, having older allies who understand bureaucracy and policy can make our efforts more impactful, ensuring sustainable and systemic change.
Thank you. And thank you, Ayush, for the insight you offered and sharing your experiences. I don't know if you've seen the chat, some nice accolades to you for your work. And I do just want to call out one of the comments in the chat. Belen replied that in my country, many areas face significant challenges in accessing the internet, a tool that should be available to everyone as it is essential for education, news, and other important matters. And when we look at the poll results for what the group thinks is the most effective way to bridge the digital divide, we see here expanding the internet access and also investing in digital literacy were two of the main ways that the group felt was important in bridging that digital divide. So excellent comments in the chat, and thank you for answering these insightful Menti questions so we can get a pulse of the group's thoughts.
I would
Joel,
just like to add on one more point for the poll. So actually in India, the government invested in 5G data throughout India. So as we can see, a lot of 5G data is available throughout India, which the government invested in, which is actually a really huge deal. But the digital divide is still a huge issue in India, because of the point that has been very less voted upon in this poll, providing affordable devices. Because not a lot of people they come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, so they are not able to afford these kind of laptops or actually even mobile phones that can help them code or even learn about tech education, which is not that available to them, even though they have this expanded internet access. So I actually, from speaking from my experience, I've seen a person who, because their family, they work from paycheck to paycheck. Uh, his dad comes home and gives him the phone, and he just for 1 hour made an entire website over the course of a month just by coding on HTML by his phone, which is a really huge accomplishment. But this shows that even though there is this expanded internet access throughout India, affordable devices are one of the huge causes of not of the digital divide actually expanding, and why we need to bridge it even quicker.
thank you for sharing that and giving us a bit more in-depth insight into what you're seeing with your community and in your country, Ayush. Thank you. As we switch gears a bit, Joelle is going to share with us next, and we're going to focus on AI integration in education. Jael, thank you so much for bringing your expertise to this subtopic. And just to kick us off and get us started, why do you think that AI can change education?
Okay, welcome Agents of the Change. Today I invite you to imagine a radical change in how we experience education. In AI integration in education, we want to show how artificial intelligence can transform the traditional education system into a dynamic, inclusive, and inspiring environment. One question: have you ever wondered why we usually spend so much time in front of a blackboard or working with folders and exams and so little exploring the real world? As Julie Warboski explains in his talks, Zombies in the School, he exclaimed, I'm sure that if we have more moments to choose and if classes have us more real world changes instead of just backboard folders and tests, a school will be a place where we will really want to be. And with that, it's a little reflection of how the system of education in general or in some parts to be in this moment.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So how would you describe, from your perspective, the current education model?
Okay, in my school experience, I have been part of an education system based on traditional methods and lectures, standardized tests, and a focus on memorization, but not in other parts of the world. On the contrary, young people explore, choose, and handle real world problems, and that is establishing a single state in is possible. As we have these two education policies or campus, the traditional and the disruptive system. So we need something to help such a scenario to grow.
Okay, thank you. And to expand a little bit more upon your experience with the current education model, how do you think that AI, artificial intelligence, can help everyone learn better?
Okay, one of the main benefits of integration AI into education is the democratization of access to knowledge. Why? AI breaks down geographic and socioeconomic barriers because making high quality education resources available to everyone. Smart tools allow personalized learning and that adapts to each student's needs and play and pace. Uh, Enabling everyone to create their own education path, no matter their circumstances or another tools to break down that.
Hey, thank you so much for sharing. So here we have a nice slide with an image and a quote that you've prepared for us, Jael. Would you expand a little bit on what role AI plays in developing creativity?
AI boosts creativity, which is a inherent quality of humans that we can train. It not only automates routine and repeat tasks, freeing up time for creative thinking, but also acts as a catalyst for new ideas. As Telefonica points out in this blog, in the creativity robot, the role of AI, technology does not replace human talent. It enhances it by allowing us to focus on solving complex problems and sparking innovation.
Thank you so much. So part of that creativity that is inherent to all of us is that importance on how creativity can be enhanced. So as AI enters into all of our lives in one way or another, Jael, what benefits do you see in AI as helping students specifically plan their future?
Today, AI gives us the ability to save time on project or future in amazing ways. Throughout deep automated learning, AI helps students use technology according to their needs, adapting in real time to make opportunities and global change. And it speeds up decision making and prepares young people for an ever-changing environment.
Thank you so much. I think that one of the things I'd like to extrapolate from what you just shared is the real time. Things that happen so quickly with AI and the access to information or change or adaptation that we can access on solving a problem is really impactful to innovation. Thank you for making sure to include that. Um, in what ways do you think that AI can be used to transform education? Of course, that's a very big question, but let's specifically focus in on your experience where you live and where you're from with education. How do you see AI as being transformational?
Okay, first, in my experience, AI in education transformed the way of how we can do with we have. For example, in my in university, and I am, we use some tools of AI. For example, Perplexity, iOS, um, the common ChatGPT. Um, Transform the vision of that to represent the human work for potencing that. So, like according to UNESCO in 2021, for example, identified four key areas where emerging AI application can radically transform education. For example, we have in first management and delivery of education, like automating administrated and teaching process. In the second, we have learning and evaluation and tools that personalize and improve student assessments. In three praise, we have empowerment of teachers and improve instruction, like training and technological resources that supports innovative teaching. And finally, we have lifelong learning and solutions that promotes continuous educations and adapt to changing needs. These interconnect areas show that AI is not acting alone. It can drive a comprehensive and transformative educational ecosystem.
Wow, thank you so much. That was very detailed and insightful, and you've certainly put a lot of thought into what you see as ways that AI could transform education. Now, to expand upon that, what changes do you think we can achieve? So you've shared a bit on your ideas and your experiences, but what changes might actually be achievable using AI in education?
For example, I put a good example of that from World Economic Forum, and it says in all of the inform that AI in education, it's important because AI promote and improve the next generation to be ready of the new demands of the world, because integrity AI into education brings concurrent and transformative results. For example, personality learning ecosystem that allow each student to progress and their growth pace. And for example, another could be inclusive and accessibility environments where knowledge is sharing equitability. Another could be methods based on problem solving and collaboration that strengthen interpersonal and innovative skills. Um, One point of that is lifelong learning that prepares individual to the future change and encourages global citizenship. And for that, the School of the Future report by the World Economic Forum stressed that to achieve this transform, we must combine technology adoption with innovating teaching methods that ensure a high impact educational experience. For example, if we integrate AI in our education or in our method of that, and we can make up, for example, projects could be solve another problems that we have could be in areas like environment and political areas or policy areas in another ways. So AI is a real tool to make our vision of that, and only that most of change that we have to take is how we use that, because it's not only for example all its benefits, however that have another barriers like my other partners and says. So we have to interpret area, but we have the work of how we interpreted that.
Thank you so much. As you were sharing, I was reflecting a bit on the difference between how I learned in school and the difference with how the three of the young panel with me today learned in school. If I was tasked with a study or an in-depth project on a topic, I had to leave my home. I had to go to a physical space. I had to hope that the books I needed were available at that physical space in that library in order to access a very limited piece of information. If Trevor or Ayush or Jeol is given an assignment from a teacher in a classroom, at their fingertips, they can access so much information. So the information and the knowledge is so important. But in this quote that Jeol found and shared with us from the Schools of the Future report, it talks about the innovation skills, how we are accessing knowledge and information, how we are interacting with those things, how we are responding creatively and critically to the aspects of information, and what technology and the digital divide and artificial intelligence plays on that. So I really appreciate you sharing all these quotes and sharing all of your experiences. And while the last few Menti questions that we've explored were more of a poll and asked our audience to share a ranking or a preference, the next two questions are going to go a bit deeper into that. So, Jeol, do you want to introduce our reflections?
Okay, we have two questions of that, and one question could be, what if our classroom become innovation labs where instead of preparing formulas and tests, we spend time imagine, real solution to complex problems.
So we'd love to hear from the group, and these are short responses. You can submit more than one. You can submit several. Don't worry about spelling or complete sentences. We'd really just like to hear your idea and sort of give us some response to our what if question. I'll scroll up. One of the techniques in creativity is to hitchhike or piggyback ideas off of each other. So maybe if you are needing some thoughts or ideas, go ahead and read what's here and see if that helps you think of an idea that might be related but is a bit different.
Anyone have any?
Did you want to share? Hey, we have lots of ideas here about the student experience, how they might feel emotionally and intellectually. They might miss school less. They might be happier and more fulfilled. It would be more engaging and embrace that higher level thinking. But there's also some bigger picture impacts for society, right? When students leave school, they would have a framework to act in their future. They would be ready for the future. Their leadership skills would be better developed. They would learn how to think, not what to think. I know there's a lot of statistics right now on how many careers that our youth might apply for in their future, that those careers aren't even imagined right now. So we're preparing students, and our students are in school for jobs that might not even exist yet. So we certainly need to provide students with these kinds of activities that help them learn how to think so that they're ready for the future. Thank you for sharing all these great ideas. Oh, we have a teacher idea. If we want classrooms to be labs, we have to put serious resources into that. Yes, that is true. Otherwise, we are not going to achieve our goal of learning by doing. Certainly, those sorts of hands-on experiences and lab situations do require a lot of resources, not only physical resources, but resources for teachers to be able to provide those opportunities for students. I so appreciate we have a teacher perspective with us. Thank you. All right, and our last reflection question, our actual last question of the session is, how would our future be shaped if students could fully unlock their creative potential and tackle global challenges with the speed and precision of AI? Certainly, unlimited global collaboration. We're seeing that here right now, just on this panel, with this great opportunity that the World Future Society has provided for us today. That global collaboration is so important.
If anyone has nothing to say, can we please wrap up this session as 6 minutes are left?
Yes, this is our last question. So if we need to do some formal wrap-ups, please go ahead and take over. We'll leave this slide going and the Menti open so people can chime in while we're wrapping up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As we wrap up this inspiring session, Thank you all for being part of World's Futures Day, Young Voices 2025. Your perspectives and participation have made this conversation truly meaningful. The journey doesn't end here. New facilitators and fresh conversations begin at the top of each hour. You are welcome to stay and continue exploring future possibilities with us. Quick announcements. First, Teach the Future is offering our first Future Wise Intro to Futures Literacy Fundamentals online course. We have the Summer Institute for ages 12 to 17 and another course coming this fall for those 18 and older. Pre-registration is open now. We would love to hear about your experience. To share your feedback and receive your certificate of participation, please fill out the survey. I have shared the links in the chat box. Remember, our intergenerational voice matters in shaping our futures. Thank you for being part of this global conversation. Breakout rooms will soon close and you will be sent to the main session to prepare for the next session. Thank you very much.